Hello my dear students, welcome back to the class once again. So in the previous class we started a chapter on Vedic age and there we discussed about the origin of the Aryans. Today I'll try to make a clear differences between the early Vedic age and the later Vedic age with the particular topics. Like today first topic we'll discuss is political organization of both the early Vedic age and the later Vedic age. So both the comparison will do side by side. So please listen to me properly. And those students, those who have not watched the previous video of this chapter, the link of that video is given in description box. Watch that first and then you watch this video. So now first of all, the political organization. So king definitely was there. King was the head. King was the head of the Aryans. And the king was elected. King was elected by his tribe. King was elected by his tribe. And the position which was given to him was not hereditary. So whenever the king was elected, it was elected by the people of his tribe, and the king did not possess hereditary right. That means after a king, his son cannot become the king. And apart from king, there were two organizations, we can say that assemblies, Sabha and Samiti. Sabha and Samiti. We call it Sabha and Samiti. So Sabha and Samiti acted as a check on the king's power. King's position was not at all realized. And from time to time, king received voluntarily gifts. King received voluntarily gifts like Bali from his tribesmen. His tribesmen, they used to give him Bali. Now in the later Vedic period, we found that the king assumed the hereditary power. That means it became associated with territory. That means that territory in which he ruled became his territory, and his position also became hereditary, which was not there in the early Vedic period. Sabha and Samiti lost its importance. Number of rituals, sacrifices were conducted to strengthen the position and power of the king. Okay, before the tribesmen gave King Bali, okay, but now it was made mandatory. King started collecting revenue from the people through his officials appointed by him. So both these are the differences of the political organization. Next one, let us talk about the society. The next one is society. Society of the early Vedic period and the later Vedic period. So very simple. First of all, we'll discuss about the family. Early Vedic period, basic unit of the society was a family which was patriarchal in nature, in which male member was the head of the family. Okay, but in the later Vedic period, what we saw was that it became more and more patriarchal. Leniency was there in the early Vedic period, but in the later Vedic period, it became more and more patriarchal in nature, and the status of father had increased. The power and the status of father had increased a lot in the later Vedic period. Okay, what was the position of women in both the periods? So you can see that in the later Vedic period, in the early Vedic period, equal rights. Okay, that means they were given equal, were treated equally, they were given equal status. Okay, they participated in assemblies. Widow remarriage was allowed. Okay, they participated in assemblies. Widows were allowed to remarry. Okay, and they were also allowed to receive education. So now what about in the later Vedic period? What was the position of women? The position of women declined. That means the position of women, the position which was there in the early Vedic period was they were given equal status, but the same thing declined in the later Vedic period. It completely declined. They were considered as a source of misery. Were not allowed to participate in assemblies or yajnas. Widow remarriage was looked down upon. Widow remarriage was not at all allowed. So widow remarriage was allowed here, but here widow remarriage was looked down upon. They were not allowed to remarry again. Educations were given to fewer women. Educations were given here. They received equal education, but here in the later Vedic period, only few got education. Caste system in the early Vedic period and the later Vedic period. So caste system, let me tell you, it was not rigid. Caste system was not rigid. Caste system was not rigid. So obviously you might be thinking caste system became rigid in the later period. It's correct. It became rigid. So caste system was not rigid, but in the later Vedic period, caste system became very, very rigid. Okay. Next one. So in the early Vedic period, caste system was like this. There are 4 divisions of the society. The first one was Brahmins, second one Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Sudras. Brahmins, they were related to religious rites and all. They look after the temples and all. They perform religious rites and all. And Kshatriyas were the one who were they had to perform, like they had to protect the kingdom. They were warriors, they were fighters. Okay. And they were the one to help and protect the king and the kingdom. And next one, the Vaishyas, they included merchants, traders, businessmen and all. Okay, they were included over here in this third caste. And the last one was the Sudras. They were the one who served the upper 3 castes. Sudras were the one who served the upper 3 castes. Okay, and on the other side, later Vedic period, like we can say that 4 ashrams were there. First one was the Brahmacharya. Next one, Grihastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyasa. Okay, like sannyas. Okay, so Brahmacharya was performed till the age of 25, and during this age from till 25, the pupil, we can say that they followed a very strict discipline. They went to the Gurukuls, okay, and there they obtained knowledge and they got all the information and educations which helped them to lead their life in their coming years from the gurus. So they studied in the Gurukul. So till the age of 25, they lived with the gurus in the Gurukul. And next one, after completing the education and all, after gaining all the knowledge and all, they now will enter into Grihastha. So where they were definitely they were to lead a family life, where they'll get married. Okay, they'll have a family life and all. Okay, they'll marry, they raise the family. Okay, they will look after the household activities and all. They take all the responsibility of maintaining the family properly, and this will continue up to 50 years. Then after 50 to 75 Vanaprastha. That means they'll go to the jungle. So simply it doesn't mean that go to jungle without any motive. The main intention of going to Ban means forest, Vanaprastha, Prasthan towards the Ban, was to attain philosophical and spiritual knowledge. They retire from the worldly life. After attaining philosophical and spiritual knowledge, once again what they'll do is that they'll now completely lead a life of a sannyasi, in which the Aryan man, so altogether they were the Aryan man. Okay, so during this period of renunciation, he had to leave everything. He had to leave. Already they had left the Grihastha and all. They had gone toward the forest and all. After attaining philosophical and spiritual knowledge, now they have to renounce the worldly pleasure once again. And leaving everything, they have to meditate to attain salvation or moksha. This is all about the 4 ashrams of a later Vedic period, which was not there in the early Vedic period. So next one is food. Food items in the early Vedic period included barley, milk, vegetables, fruits, rice, and meat. Okay, and in the later Vedic period, these were the food items which they had during the early Vedic period. And in the later Vedic period, everything was same, but the consumption of meat was reduced. Simple, everything was same. Barley, meal, vegetable, fruit, rice and meat. But in the later Vedic period, the consumption of meat was reduced. In the early Vedic period, the primary occupation of the early Vedic period was completely based on cattle rearing. Okay, in the later Vedic period, this cattle rearing continued. Agriculture. This one is pastoral. Okay. Next one is agriculture. So definitely it was known, and agriculture was also known to the early Vedic period, and it continued in the later Vedic period, and agriculture became one of the most important source of economy. In the later Vedic period, agriculture became the most important source of economy, and large tracts of forests were cleared. Most important source of wealth was the land. So apart from all this, now trade. So what about the trade? In the early Vedic period, barter system prevailed. Barter system means suppose I grow rice and the other farmer grew vegetables. So we'll exchange. I'll give rice to them and they will give me vegetables to me. So this way we managed in the early Vedic period. So, but okay, many people were engaged in commerce and trade also. Many people trade, the same barter system. Barter system continued in the later Vedic period also. Okay, and in the later Vedic period, currency like silver coins, currencies and silver coins were used as a medium of exchange. The foreign trade also started to expand its territories. Okay, Vaishyas were also the one who were involved. So Vaishyas were the only one who were involved in trade and commerce. So other economic activities in the early Vedic period: hunting, carpentry, tanning, pottery, weaving, chariot making, fishery, embroidery, okay, dyeing, weaving, etc. were also known to them. And in the later Vedic period also, same thing continued, but a few more were added, like metal work, leather work, jewelry making, okay, carpentry, pottery made great progress in the later Vedic period. So this is all about the economic. So worship. Now, which are the gods and goddesses were worshipped by the early Aryans, early Vedic period, people of early Vedic period and later Vedic period? So they worshipped natural forces. In the early Vedic period, they worshipped natural forces of male gods like Agni, fire god, okay, Indra, rain god, Pusan was there, Surya was there. Female goddesses were also there. Like Aditi and Usa were also worshipped. Okay, these were the female goddesses, Aditi and Usa. Okay, and in the later Vedic period, again the same continuation was there. Few changes we saw, like later Vedic period, Indra and Agni lost their importance. Vishnu and Rudra became prominent. So Vishnu and Rudra, they became prominent. So let me tell you mode of worship. See, mode of worship. How did they worship? So in the early Vedic period, the mode of worship like chanting of prayers and animal sacrifices were common. Chanting of prayers and animal sacrifices were there. So in order to please God, animal sacrifices were also performed. Okay, and in the later Vedic period, animal sacrifices increased. Okay, so this animal sacrifices increased. In the later Vedic period. Okay, and one more changes we saw during the later Vedic period was priesthood became prominent. Okay, I always miss this point, priesthood became prominent. So this is all about from this chapter. So till then, you please take care of yourself. Okay, stay home, stay safe, and take care. Bye bye.